وخمار شوي area crossroads.
Artenian Shinla, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of Walk the Crossroads. After a long bit of hiatus, which seems to happen these days because of the busyness of running Das Vierd, we're back to discuss active Chevalier models, where we're going to take a look at the different kinds of Chevalier model, and we're going to look at a few examples of them. Alright, and before we begin, this is an errant commander to all units. Engage and give no quarter, says the quote from the active Chevalier model wiki page. The design and creation of Chevalier Mecha is strictly controlled by the ruling Grand Masters of the Meisters Guild. Because of this monopoly, only two known classifications of Chevalier exist in the records of the Guild. The first being the light or strike classification, one which features low armor, high speed, and highly reactive maneuverability. The second being the heavy or shock classification, a thickly armored and heavily weaponed wielding design that focuses on protracted combat and reinforced defenses. Now, other than this, Chevaliers also have something what they kind of fit the different combat roles. These are called Chevalier grades. Chevaliers when in combat often serve specific roles and are outfitted with equipment and modifications to serve a purpose when fighting. These are known as grades, a mean of specifying an errant specific purpose in a sortie when competing against the enemy. Most models are built with a specific grade in mind, but can be outfitted to serve a different grade. However, unless modded specifically to serve a different purpose, a Chevalier that switches grades in between combat, a lengthy process we're going to emphasize because you have to take off modifications and refit everything, will not serve as competently as one designed with a purpose in mind. So there are three known grades. Archer, which is a long-range Chevaliers who rely on artillery or sniper-based emplacements. Skirmishers, which are range and close-range Chevaliers who fight at the mid-range before switching to close-range combat. And Lancers, which are melee specifically and close-range specifically. So even if they have a ranged weapon, they're going to be fighting in a close combat setting. They're made specifically for close combat. Strike Chevaliers are a common sight throughout the Triad and in great number. They're often employed in lightning fast raids and used where fighting requires numbers and constant speed. However, what makes up for in speed means a lower amount of armor and defenses. Their weapon systems are often weak compared to heavier combat types, meaning they're not the best competed against large capital craft or against heavy mecha. Strike Chevalier often favor tactics of precision and speed and are often best organized for short battles where quick thinking and decisions win the day. And we're going to look at a skirmisher, a archer, and a lancer. So the archer grade fighting we're looking at is that we're going to be looking at the hussar. Now the hussar is known as the CLA hussar, which means Chevalier Light Archer grade. So that's what those little, when you look at the wiki or when you view the lore, you'll see like these little abbreviations before, and that refers to what it is. The warriors of Piagarok houses have spent years in regions constantly under threat from raids from neighboring sectors and from Gwarish raids across the Rook-Marcher line. In waning years of the Void War, the Starborn who claim a similar ancestry to the peoples of Erlik. From the history of archery, the Meisters of the Piargazag adapted mobility with a long-range functionality. So was born the Hussar, a quick and speedy Chevalier that gives up defense for speed and aiming capability. With its long-barreled railgun, the Hussar are capable of striking enemies from afar while maintaining at a safe distance. This has given the Hussar a powerful reputation as picket guards and scouts when searching for enemies' positions. Like most Starborn-made models, the Hussar is primarily developed for space combat, but can easily be used in atmospheric war. A common tactic for Hussar sorties is to mix them with frontline skirmisher units or with heavier archer units, then use them in decisive defense. Hussars are widely used across the Triad, with heavy usage in the Throne and Rook systems. Okay. The next one we're going to look at is the CLS Maharilka. The Maharilka is a light, actually it's the CLL, which is Lancer. It's a Lancer grade. So let's talk about this. The CLL Maharilka was first developed in the early years of the Three Kingdoms era, when the House of Bethala decided to unleash an active rebellion against the ruling House of Archer, and then later House Amaterasu. These repeated uprisings are Pag Asala became a reminder that the Outer Rim had been under control of the worlds and was always a region unto itself. Even when the risings occurred, the Chevaliers of the central colonies and worlds were able to beat it down. That was until the Maharilka joined the fray, a light armored skirmisher covered in layers of reinforced absorbing cloth known as Plaw's quilt. Strange in their appearance, the gaudy creations soon create a violent front-line fighter that could appear from behind space to freeze and instigate lightning raids on the enemy. Whenever someone dies at the hands of a Maharilka, all they see as their life turns away is the multicolored robes of their enemy and a strange, sorrowful mask. Let's talk a little bit about the design here, mostly as an example of what these look like. The Maharilka is also known as the Naskati in that it holds an eerily pharonoid appearance rather than that of a suit and armor. A large head wrap covers the flat conical helm. This wrap is woven from Plaw's quilt material, which is then painted to suit the colors of the pilot in general. It crests above the head of the mecha and then backward in a series of thick cable-found folds. The face itself is always that of a feminine figure set in sorrowful frown with the eyes closed. Another strange aspect when we called the crying soldier when in battle. The body build of the Maharilka is slighter than thinner than other mecha. Its central chest area is almost feminine in appearance, and a flowing Plaw's quilt robe covers a thick Plaw's steel chest plate that wraps around the nail in the high collar defense. Alright, everybody. Now we're going to talk about the Hoplites, a heavy lancer grade fighting chevalier. Still, though, technically it's still light. My bad there, guys. One of the oldest known Lancer models, and one of the oldest in general. After the creation of the Gawain model by Excalibur Station, the few houses that dwelt on Tatara took up the mantle of right. Prying among these new right houses was House Perseus, a former branch of House Athens. Taking up the push for a new Elysite Chevalier model, the Perseus family spent years developing the key systems of the mecha. Once complete, the Hoplites became a staple among the various marcher families and their defense of the line, and a common sight in the throne system in general. Most houses consider the Hoplites an old and somewhat outdated model, while still enjoy a large-scale usage across the triad, and is steadily being phased out by newer models. In combat, the Hoplites is often employed in a stereotypical phalanx position, their shield then used to defend weaker points or reinforced advanced long-range positions. Few can match the Hoplites formation that rushes their position and manages to break their formation in general. In battle, even the aged Hoplites breaks a solid workhorse of war, and is constantly favored by errants across the Avalon cluster. Okay, everybody. Let's quickly move over, and we're going to talk a little bit about the heavy or shock class, and we're going to have 3 examples. And then we're going to take a break, and we'll see ya, and you will see us next time. Okay. Heavily Chevaliers are the vanguard of any war and are those that break the lines of the enemy. Their names are shield breakers, cataphract, and much more. Mostly simply call them the shock class. Their increased armor and weapon systems mean that their power diminishes their mobility, and they must rely on careful direction when on the move. However, with their greater firepower and armor, they are more capable to survive long engagements and lengthy strategies that rely on endurance rather than speed. Alright, now to note, like the previous Chevaliers we discussed, these ones have an abbreviation that comes before the name. That is CH, which means Chevalier Heavy, and then the grade, which is, for this one, the Yoshia, is Archer. Like the thunder of the storm, the folk of Chin say, the Yoshia is the coming of the dragon. A heavy archer base created during the middle years of the Tree System era, it is easily a match for the deadly speed of the Yamabushi. Yoshia are a heavily armored foe that move slowly, but move with the force of the ancient mountains they are said to be built in. Steadfast and unmoving and ever pushing forward, this is the strategy employed by those who direct the Pendex of Yoshian war. Much like the people of the Dragon Kingdom, the Yoshia is a thing of myth and folktale. Their name is taken from the wandering sages that once traveled across Yomi itself, dispensing justice against wayward lords and unruly temple abbots. Only the legendary Sohei and Ronin match the Yoshia's audacity and defiance. Even to this day, no Mecha on Yomi sticks in the crawl of the ruling house quite like that of Chin. Alright, now we're going to talk a bit about the Dranger. In the age of modern eras, the warriors of Asgir believed that to die in battle is to die in glory. When Chevalier technology was unleashed upon the worlds of Rook, it was the blood of Tyr who took up the tradition of right and used it to forge a weapon to wield in war. The Drangar are so named for the infamous foot soldiers that are often employed in the harsh winters of Aesir against various warring nations that make up the chilled planet. From this tradition was born the renowned Drangar war machine that came to rule the Rook system for well over a century. With the might of the Drangar, the House of Tyr was more than capable of claiming the rule of Princes of Rook and only fell at the rise of House Hormuz. The skirmisher style employed by the Drangar focuses on unmitigated fury and momentum. When a Drangar enters combat, they are attempt to build up a rhythm of fighting and tear through the enemy after enemy. Let's look a little bit at this design as an example of what these things look like. The Drangar is a tall, thin machine which comes in 3 general chassis configurations, one appearing slimmer and more female, one being thin and androgynous, and the third being thicker, square, and masculine. No one understands why the designs of the Drangar put so much emphasis in chassis shape, but the desire might be to attain a taste of variety of buyers. No matter, the helm of the Drangar is often either horned or fitted with a pair of wings that jet out from either side. The helm is then rounded to a point in shape and features a thick nose guard that splits over into a cross guard over the mask. When a hood of mail is laid over it and the body rests under the armor. The chest armor in general is quite thick and plated and features 2 large pauldrons on the shoulders. When the chest piece is generally made of overlapping lengths of studded plastic quilt and then set over a thickened piece of plate armor. The armor continues all the way down from the chest and toward the waist. Weapons are often stored on the back or around the waist. A thick round shield embossed with the emblem of the pilot's house is then given as an additional accessory. Each leg of the Drangar is encased in a layer of studded plastic quilt armor and thickened thigh and shin guards. Its boots are made to grip most terrain and come with the standard stabilizers typical of a Chevalier. Drangar can also launch a small attachment of hooks from their arms to further stabilize shots if necessary when standing their ground against an oncoming enemy. Finally today we're going to be discussing a bit here, and if you heard some clicking noises in the back, that is Bookham, the resident pug. He is walking around, so that's what that's coming from. The CHL Jabur is an old-fashioned form of Chevalier that first saw deployment in the ending days of the Alt Dynasty. Wielded by members of the Throne Cabal errants in the defiance of the reign of Empress Gwyn, the creations of House Baka found themselves in a heavy usage in the early years of the Three Systems era. However, as the newest models have come to the forefront, over time the old status of the Jabur has given it a growing status of eternal. While this occurs, few know, but the larger numbers of older machines with the great numbers of generations of dying pilots may have contributed. No matter what, the answer is what is known is that a good portion of the eternal are found in the modern eras are those of the Jabur. The age of the Jabur has lent itself a larger culture of modification and diversity. While the outer design of the Jabur does not change greatly, there are a higher amount of rights specializing in the repair and the modifications of the machine. This means that if any Chevalier is worth being personalized by a pilot, it is a Jabur. In the life of an errant, few things matter more than the ability to make a weapon what they need when they need it most. The trade-off, of course, is that the Jabur tactics are widely known, a fact which can make them seem more than just outdated, but simply predictable. Well, thank you everybody. I hope I read this well and hope you enjoyed our little look at the different Chevalier models. There are currently in the game, as we are sitting here in 2016, there are over 12 different models to choose from, with more to be added in the future. And we hope that you guys see us next time on the podcast. And as the Amazons say, and as Bookham dances around here in the background looking for something, Fehen Shush, spirits to you.